Welcome to your 2025 love horoscopes. The main keywords for the year are nurturing your relationships, emotional intelligence, and self-acceptance. Curious to know whether your sign will win a romantic jackpot for the year? Let's find out. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. Welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the romance in 2025. I'm a Libra rising and I love talking about love always. If you want to show your support, please leave me a like, a comment, subscribe, and press that notification bell. Watch more of my content or say thank you by buying me a tea, a coffee, a croissant, or any other gift your heart desires. Thank you for that. If you're new, thank you for being here. Welcome. There are a couple of ways of working with me. If you have questions about your relationship, you're maybe struggling understanding your partner, trying to figure out how to show love better, how to connect more, you can book a reading. There are relationship readings, there are predictive readings, there are natal chart readings on my website. I am also currently running a year ahead reading where you can save a year ahead promo, where you can save $20 off the in-person consultation with the coupon code 2025. The information is in the description, or save $40 by getting a recorded reading, and the recorded reading can be found in the shop section of my website. Additionally, in the shop section of my website, you can find a variety of products I create. There is my 2025 astrological planner full of insights about lunar phases, journaling prompts, intention setting pages, transit information, monthly calendars, daily space to write your to-do list, and so much more. I even included positive and challenging dates to help you plan out your week. And you can find my candles on there, my candles, oils, and even bracelets. I capture astrology in a very proactive way. I started creating objects to help myself with my own love life, and so I extended it and turned it into a part of my offerings to you. I'd like to highlight my Venus in Libra 2 and Venus in Libra 3 candles. These capture the powerful Venus in the sign of rulership, perfect for anyone seeking love. If you feel like you're struggling, you're born with Venus in Virgo, Scorpio, or Aries, and relationships are naturally a little bit difficult for you, I would highly recommend this candle, because Venus in Libra is this playful, charming, a little bit detached, but still very good at getting along with everyone energy. So it can help you not only connect, but also enjoy diplomatic relationships, find inspiration, find ease and creative self-expression as well. And so this is the candle from 2023. And Venus in Libra 3 is the candle from 2024. And this one comes in this beautiful jar and it smells like English garden. Versus the 2023 Venus in Libra 2 edition smells like honeysuckle jasmine. I love both of them. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Once again, let's talk about the year. I call 2025 a transitional year. It's a year full of outer planets changing signs, right? To give you an example, in 2024, we've only had, besides the usual Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars that are forever changing signs, we've only had Jupiter shift signs. Saturn was in Pisces all year, so has Neptune in Pisces, Uranus stayed in Taurus. Saturn, I already said that. Pluto shifted signs. Okay, so Pluto changed signs and Jupiter changed signs. In 2025, we're going to have two retrogrades Mercury goes retrograde 3 times and every other planet goes retrograde at some point. But we're going to have 2 retrogrades of our romantic planets. There's going to be a Venus retrograde in March, April, and Mars is retrograde the first 2 months of the year. So the planet of desire and action and sexuality is retrograde at the start of the year. And then immediately after, the planet of attraction, beauty, connection goes retrograde. So the beginning of the year has a little bit of this tarnished energy, I'd say, or the energy of a little bit of confusion and asking deep questions and perhaps reorienting ourselves. And then Later in the year, we're going to have Neptune dip into Aries. We're going to have Saturn dip into Aries. We're going to have Uranus dip into Gemini. All three of these planets will eventually travel back to their signs that they were in the beginning of the year. And we're also going to have Jupiter shifting signs. And I'm personally so excited about Jupiter going into Cancer. I think it's going to bless all of the water and earth signs, especially strongly. And you will feel it. Also, it's gonna make a splash and bring important abundance and blessings into your life if you are one of the cardinal rising signs: Libra, Aries, Cancer, or Capricorn. So many reasons to be excited. And Pisces risings should be excited too. And Virgo risings. Everyone. Just be excited, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to go through each rising sign and give you tips, give you important themes, important dates. Please share any feedback. I'm curious to know how you're doing in 2024. Have you experienced any growth already in your relationships? And yeah, share any thoughts you have. And if you're looking for personal consultation, sometimes people listen to these horoscopes and they feel like it doesn't quite reflect their situation. So you have to keep in mind that these are more general, right? Like we're looking at, when I'm giving you a rising sign horoscope, and I recommend listening for the rising sign, but you're welcome to listen to your sun or moon signs as well. But I'm giving a horoscope for 1/12 of a population, right? There's 12 zodiac signs. And of course, it's going to resonate with some people more than others because each chart is unique and it all needs to be considered together. So like I said, I am currently running a year ahead special. If you wanted to get a personal reading, book it on my website, anastasiadoesastrology.com, and check out the information, the coupons, and the location of those readings in the description. So let's start with Aries rising. If you are an Aries rising, 2024 has likely been important for your personal development and for your romantic development. The entire year we've had eclipses in your first house of identity and in your seventh house of relationships. You may have gotten engaged, you may have gotten married, you may have gotten divorced. There could have been a sense of cleansing in the house of relationships that could have been inspired by your personal transformation. We're going to have the final eclipse in your house of identity on March 29th. There's going to be, like I said in the introduction, there is a lot of confusion early in the year. You may feel a little bit uncertain about who you are. You may feel a little bit uncertain about your relationships. You may be dealing with some kind of matters involving your living situation, your home, your children. We start the year with Mars retrograde. It's retrograde between December 6th and February 23rd, and the retrograde is happening between your fifth house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, and your fourth house of home, family, and living situation. And you are Mars. You are Aries rising. You're ruled by Mars. So the first 2 months out of the year, your star planet is like this, rogue warrior, a little bit confused, a little bit uncertain. You may feel like you're questioning your relationship on some level. Maybe there's been a lot of important developments in 2024. But in the beginning of the year, maybe you're questioning things. Maybe you're trying to figure out, whether you want to get pregnant, whether you want to expand your home. Maybe there are questions involving children, existing children if you're a parent already. Maybe you're realizing how your romantic life is influenced by your childhood, and this would apply both for singles and for people in relationships, because as Mars travels backwards from your fifth into the sixth house early in the year, it suggests that you're looking at your love life or the lack of thereof and wondering how your early conditioning, your family, your beliefs you have inherited from your family, the example of your parental dynamic, how has that affected your love life? And perhaps there is an opportunity to clarify some of those things. Mars being retrograde in the sign of its fall in Cancer between January 6th and February 23rd, and then direct after February 23rd until April 18th, is a really beautiful opportunity to examine not only where you live and whether you're happy with your home, but also dig back into questions of self-worth and childhood. And then as Mars finishes the retrograde on February 23rd and begins to move direct and then comes into Leo again from April 18th into I'm gonna look it up. I have the dates right here. So from April 18th until June 17th, it's going to be back in Leo in your house of romance. That's when things might start to feel better, right? That's when we're almost done with Venus retrograde by then, and you're done with Mars retrograde. You may have moved, you may have addressed some disagreements, maybe dealt with some type of remodeling in the home. And so I think your sense of self, you start to feel better, and your relationships might improve in the process. You are very much, you know, the relationships are always connected to what's happening in your life. And this year is very important in terms of continuing to figure yourself out. Big things that are happening for you are Neptune going into Aries and Saturn entering Aries. And this year we're getting a bit of a preview with Neptune in Aries from March 30th until October 22nd. It only makes it until 2 degrees 10 minutes of the sign. And Saturn also dips into Aries from May 24th until September 1st and also makes it approximately 2 degrees in. So that suggests that you are entering this new period of reinventing yourself. Saturn and Neptune together is like an elderly fairy godmother type energy, right? There is like wisdom, and then there is also some magic. And so you are coming into this chapter of your life where you are busy. And you're maybe with Neptune here, maybe you're giving back, maybe you're becoming a healer on some level. I wonder for some of you, if we're talking about Mars retrograding in the house of children and you are getting pregnant, right? The next 2 years, with actually 3 years until 2028, Saturn will be in Aries, I believe. Like the next 3 years could be really major in terms of your, you know, in terms of being a parent, in terms of like being busy, because there's a lot going on. If you are becoming a parent, I can definitely see here. I'm just gonna check the exact days of Saturn. You guys are my first, right? So yeah, 3 years. The first entrance of Saturn in Aries is from May 24th, 2025 until September 1st, 2025. And then it comes back in February 2026 and stays all the way until April 2028. So 2.5 years, 3 years, if you wanted to speak in broad terms. So that is that. Possibly pregnancy, possibly changes. I think it can also be about creative self-expression. It doesn't just have to involve romance. It's like a lot of personal change that then affects your relationships. So the planet that rules your house of relationships is Venus. And Venus begins the year in Pisces, in your 12th house. And so if you're single, you're maybe traveling and you're maybe meeting a partner in a faraway place. If you're in a relationship, your partner might be dealing with some kind of spiritual battles. Maybe they are far away, maybe they're traveling early in the year solo. Venus goes retrograde between March 1st and April 12th. And since Venus rules the house of love in your chart, this is not the best time to start a new relationship between March 1st and April 12th. It's interesting because like there's still so much energy of self-discovery. Simultaneously around that same time, we have Mercury retrograde, we have the final eclipse in Aries on the 29th of March in your house of identity. So it's like, I think early in the year, you're maybe not quite ready to make important relationship moves, or you have to ask a lot of questions. And Venus being retrograde from March 1st until April 12th might also be the time when your partner is somehow like looking back over things. Maybe they're dealing with work matters, maybe they're questioning their life choices on some level. Venus is in Aries between March 1st and March 27th. So it can also suggest that, like, if you're single, you're meeting people right now, or you're having exes reach out to you. But because later she returns into Pisces from March 27th until April 12th, she'll be retrograde in Pisces. It's still not an ideal time. Like, you might be, I think at this point in a year, there might be splashes of romantic interest or some kind of people coming into your life, but maybe things not quite working out. And there are a lot of energy also still talking about the first about 4 months of the year. There are a lot of kind of completion and cycles closing. So we have a full moon in your 5th house of romance on February 12th, and the full moon in your house of relationships on April 12th. So you're having to complete things. Then Venus finally goes direct, and she comes back into your 1st house. So from April 30th until June 6th, she'll be in your house of identity, making you extra charming. She rules your 1st house. She rules your 7th house of relationships, which might be a sign that your partner is more affectionate, more interested in spending extra time with you. Maybe there is some type of new development if you're single. Maybe new people are reaching out. And then we also have a new moon in Leo on July 24th, which is also symbolic of new romantic opportunities. If you're single, it's in the house of children, so it can also be about pregnancy, about maybe a creative project. Between August 25th and September 19th, Venus is in her joy in your 5th house, and you are meeting new people, you are dating, you are experiencing more affection, more presence, more appreciation. So that's a beautiful time. And then about a month later, from October 13th until November 6th, Venus enters Libra, your 7th house, and there's a new moon in Libra on October 21st, which, if you are single and you have met someone around July timeframe, right? Maybe even like in August, early September, that October period could be when you're making a relationship official and you're solidifying things. And I also quite like the fact that Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th and will stay here until June 30th, 2026 in your 4th house. So even more signs of growing your home, moving, pregnancy, expanding your family, and finding kind of more happiness, I think, within the family. So please share how this resonates. As always, if you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasia.astrology.com and pick up a Venus in Libra 2 or 3 candle. It's especially perfect for you because it activates your 7th house of marriage. If you are the beautiful Taurus rising, so there are going to be some important developments in 2025. I want to start by talking about the 2 retrogrades that we're going to deal with that are going to be important to you. So as a Taurus rising, you are ruled by Venus. Taurus is ruled by Venus. And your 7th house, which is the sign opposite, Scorpio, is ruled by Mars. I'm a traditional astrologer, so for me, Mars is the planet that's in charge. So early in the year, Mars is retrograde. And that suggests that early in the year, your partner, the first 2 months out of the year, your partner is somehow in a state of distress. There may be dealing with some type of change in their life. Mars is retrograding from your 4th house, Leo, into your 3rd house, Cancer. So maybe there are even like questions around your living situation. Maybe something is happening with your family or your partner's family. If you're single, you may experience a little bit more confusion romantically, as a potential love interest or people you're trying to date are not being as clear, perhaps. So Mars does go direct on February 23rd, and then that will hopefully start to improve things, right? However, on March 1st until April 12th, Venus will now be retrograde, and she'll be retrograde from Aries into Pisces. So she's gonna be, as in you're going to be moving from the place of sort of confusion and self-defeating tendencies into a place of more clarity when Venus returns into Pisces. But it's interesting to me. It reads like, let's talk about people in relationships, right? Like, it reads as the partner is going through this difficult time. There may be matters involving home, family, siblings that you or him, them, her, you or your partner are dealing with. Maybe there is some miscommunications, tensions. Then your planet is retrograde, and now you're starting to question things. So in the beginning of the year, it's all a bit in flux, right? And then an important shift that is happening in 2025 is the fact that the nodes are shifting signs. North node is entering Pisces and South node is entering Virgo. So from January 12th, 2025 until July 26th, 2026, the nodes will be in Pisces and in Virgo. And we're gonna be having eclipses in Virgo and new moons in Virgo. So there are a lot of opportunities for relationship development. It's going to be interesting because you will be offered opportunities to release things, right? If you are in a relationship, you may find yourself questioning the relationship. If you already right now can tell yourself that things don't feel stable, that you're not quite sure, the South Node in Virgo will sort of bring even more awareness to that. It can also be the time when you are needing to change the way you do relationships, because as a Taurus rising, your 7th house is Scorpio, your 5th house of like romance and fun and pleasure is Virgo, and you can be quite controlling, right? There could be this sense of like wanting to control things, wanting to know what your partner is doing, maybe quietly, maybe a little bit like sort of tendency to overthink, right? Over like question things. And so it will also be the time when you will be exploring how to trust more. And so the change in the relationship life can be prompted by that. Some of you might get pregnant because there is a solar eclipse and a new moon in Virgo. There's a new moon in August, and then there's a solar eclipse in Virgo in September, which is all about new beginnings. New beginnings in the house of love, in the house of pleasure, in the house of children. If you're single, right, similar things. I think the first few months of the year, very confusing, very uncertain. You're doubting, you're maybe looking within and questioning how you have sabotaged the relationships in the past. You're becoming more self-aware, you're becoming more forgiving. You're letting go of perhaps some need for the partner to be perfect. Because with 5th house in Virgo, you're maybe almost like turned on by perfection and cleanliness and like, I don't know, organization. So on some level, you will need to examine, you will probably be asking yourself how important those things are, and are they really important or not? In May, there's also a full moon in your house of relationships in Scorpio, which might be the time when you are releasing things, when you are completing or committing to a relationship. In August 23rd, like I said, we have that new moon in Virgo followed up by the solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21st. Yeah, it's a big eclipse cycle for you guys. Can also be for some of you, it could be about children moving out, right? If you're older and there's a South Node eclipse in Virgo, a child goes to college, and you are meeting your partner as parents who have just released their children. The children just flew out of your nest, and what does it feel like? What is this new chapter in your relationship will be about? Between September 19th and October 13th, Venus is in Virgo in your 5th house. This could be a great time to go on dates with your partner, meet new people if you're single, do things that are both kind of, that teach you something, but can also be romantic, like take a class with your significant other. And then between November 6th and November 30th, Venus will be in Scorpio in your 7th house simultaneously as Mercury will go retrograde from November 9th until November 29th from your 8th into your 7th house. And if you are in a relationship, this could be the time when you're dealing with maybe some kind of financial questions. You maybe feel not as appreciated in a relationship. You have to talk about uncomfortable topics. If you're single, maybe someone from your past is knocking on your door, or the questions of healing old wounds, the questions of trust might be coming up for you. And then we have a new moon in Scorpio on November 20th, your 7th house, which is also an important development. So I think this new moon correlates with Mercury retrograding, and so there is an opportunity at the end of the year to welcome more intimacy and truth into the relationship and talk about things that maybe make you feel uncomfortable. I'm also quite excited about Uranus entering Gemini between July 7th and November 7th. It's going to be like a quick 4 months introduction. And then in April 2026, it will enter to stay until 2032. Isn't it insane? It's so crazy. But Uranus in Gemini in your 2nd house might revolutionize your finances and bring some kind of exciting developments and new values, right? But then on one hand, it's also quite positive because it's going to leave your 1st house and it will stop opposing your house of relationships. So if you've experienced a lot of turmoil and upheaval and ups and downs in relationships in the last 6-7 years, be ready to say goodbye to that and welcome perhaps more stability, but a little bit less stability financially as you explore these new chapters, new cycles, new interests. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com, and I'd be happy to analyze your relationship, talk about your natal chart, talk about your year coming up, and more. For the lovely Gemini rising, 2024 brought a lot of eclipses in your 5th house of romance, pleasure, and parenthood, and your 11th house of hopes, dreams, and aspirations. And you perhaps had to balance those two areas. Especially around March and October, there could have been significant romantic new beginnings. Maybe you released some things. Maybe you had to balance matters involving children. In 2025, the nodes shift into Pisces and Virgo. So North Node goes into Pisces, South Node goes into Virgo. And North Node draws a lot of attention to your professional life. You're likely climbing new mountains, reaching new heights. And South Node draws attention to your house of home, family, and living situation. And so when it comes to, if you're married, let's say, or if you're in a significant relationship, South Node being in the 4th house might represent a move. There might be, maybe you're moving in with your significant other and having to let go of the home you've been in for a while. Maybe you're growing your family. Maybe there's some kind of shifts in your family, especially in March 14th, we get the lunar eclipse in Virgo. And then in August, September, there is the new moon and a solar eclipse in Virgo. So in early half of the year, you're maybe completing chapters. It can also, it can also involve your parents, not necessarily your family that you have created with your partner, for example. But it could be about parenthood, starting a family, moving with someone you love, and kind of getting closer with them. Jupiter, the ruler of your house of relationships, is in Gemini, in your house of identity until June 9th, 2025. It has been in Gemini since May 25th, 2024. And this is still quite beneficial for romance. It means that at this time, the chances of people reaching out to you are higher. Business partners, romantic interests, be on the lookout, right? They will likely be in the areas, in the places, in the environments that are comfortable to you, because as you go about your day, you're doing your first house, and Jupiter being here means that the partner is also right there. From June 9th, for a full year, Jupiter will enter Cancer, your second house, which is interesting because it's the planet ruling relationships going in the sign of its exaltation. So your partner getting a boost in dignity. For those in relationships, might be a sign that the partner is starting to make more money. The partner gets a new job, or their business starts to perform better, or their investments pay off. There is some kind of growth, right? The partner is experiencing. If you're single, Jupiter entering Cancer might be the time when you are meeting people in finance. You're meeting people through financial institutions, like you meet someone at a bank, you meet someone through your accountant, you meet someone at a investment party or some kind of, get together that involves financial matters. So be aware of those things. Be on the lookout for exciting opportunities. Early in the year, we have Mars retrograde, we have Venus retrograde. So the first 3.5 months of the year may feel a bit more confusing. You're maybe questioning your finances as Mars retrograding from your third house into your second house. There might be a sense of, sort of uncertainty when it comes to that. So not the best time to start new relationships early in the year, and maybe a good time to talk about important questions in a relationship. Maybe it's a great time to kind of get on the same page, as both the planet of action and the planet of romance, Mars and Venus, are retrograde. And then as we sort of start to finish the retrogrades, Venus completes its retrograde on April 12th. We get a full moon in Libra, your fifth house, on April 12th. The same day Venus stations direct, there's a full moon in your fifth house. And so Venus was retrograding from your 11th into your 10th house. And it could be about pleasure. It could be about professional matters, as you're maybe realizing that you're not as happy with what you're doing for work. But it could be, since we're talking about love, right? Let's not forget the love. But it could be also about needing to agree with your partner, needing to get on the same page about the future, about the work. And if you're single, maybe your romantic considerations are as well affected by what's happening in your professional life, right? If you're thinking of moving, or you're thinking of starting a new job or going back to school, maybe it's not as easy to date right now. And maybe you need to be, you need to ask yourself important questions first. We also have the full moon in your 7th house in Sagittarius in June, which is another sign of major developments, completions in relationships. If you're in a significant relationship, the full moon in Sagittarius in June might be the time you commit to a relationship or move in together, get pregnant. If you are single, maybe you meet someone. Maybe you make a fling official. Maybe you turn it into a relationship. A really big transit that is worth mentioning is Uranus entering Gemini, your first house. In 2025, it only gives us an introduction. So between July 7th and November 7th, it's going to be in Gemini. And it only makes it till about 1 degree, 27 minutes. So you will notice it the most if your ascendant is between 0 and 2 degrees Gemini. Don't worry about it if your ascendant is much later. But if it is really early, and in general, your Uranus going into your first house suggests that you are starting a big period of becoming a rebel, becoming a revolutionary, shaking away the old, shaking away things that do not fit you anymore. And if you're in a relationship and the relationship feels stagnant and stifling, this might be a transit that breaks a relationship and calls you to step away. Find something new, explore, express yourself. If you are if you're single, maybe you're starting to date unique people, or you start being more open-minded. There might be kind of, once again, shedding the old, welcoming the new. Between October 13th and November 6th, Venus is in Libra in her sign of rulership. Like I said, my Venus in Libra, that's why I capture every single time. It's beautiful and it's powerful. So between October 13th and November 6th is arguably the best period of the year for you to date. Venus is great at attracting relationships. She's great at helping you find pleasure. There's also a new moon in Libra on October 21st, so feels very romantic. If you're single, go out there, date, hang out with friends, put yourself into the field of vision of your potential lover. No matter how much I do not like the word lover, I cannot avoid it fully. I got a splinter into my finger today and I pulled it out, but I'm not 100% sure I did it completely, and now I'm like being full on Virgo thinking about it. But back to you, Geminis. So yeah, October is exciting. Venus leaves Libra and Mercury goes retrograde between your 7th house of relationships and your 6th house of everyday life and work between November 9th and November 29th. So if you're in a relationship at this time, you may need to address some mundane concerns. Figure out who does the dishes, who does laundry, sort of address some kind of important questions in a relationship. If you're single, maybe an ex comes back into your life. Maybe you are realizing that in order to have a happy relationship, you need to get more organized about your diet and take better care of yourself. And then at the end of the year, after you've like asked all these questions and maybe discussed some important matters with your partner, we have Venus in Sagittarius between November 30th and December 24th. This is Venus in your house of love and partnership, and there's a new moon here as well on December 19th. So for those single, it's an opportunity to meet someone. It's an opportunity to start a new relationship. Someone adventurous, someone philosophical, someone very intelligent. If you're in a relationship, this could be an opportunity to start a new chapter after you have rediscovered things and maybe, welcome new beginnings. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com and take advantage of my year ahead special or get a relationship consultation. If you are the lovely Cancer rising, so in 2024 you had Pluto leave your 7th house and you may be feeling a little bit better. Pluto went into your 8th house and perhaps all the sorry, I'm like, it's a little bit hot in this. I'm at my boyfriend's apartment and it's like his apartment gets so heated, so I need to drink water, a lot of water. So Pluto is currently in the 8th house and it's about, forgive me being distracted by and like needing to drink water, but okay, I'm focused now, focusing. So Pluto is in Aquarius. It went into Aquarius a few times, but permanently went in on November 19th and will stay all the way until 2043. And in Aquarius, it's encouraging you to look at the sharing, give and take dynamics to figure out how to make your relationships more fair, to disengage from toxic dynamics. Maybe you never express how you truly feel. Maybe you try to always be nice. Maybe like there are certain things that we do sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously that are destructive for us. So I think Pluto in Aquarius for the next 20 years almost will be encouraging you to face the shadows and use the knowledge that you've gathered during the time Pluto was in Capricorn from 2008 until 2024 to build better, more fair, honest relationships. So you are Cancer rising, you are ruled by the moon, your 7th house is Capricorn, and it is ruled by Saturn. And so where Saturn goes, the partner goes. And so there are two major developments in 2025 when it comes to Saturn. Saturn is in Pisces, until May 24th, and then again from September 1st, 2025 until February 13th, 2026. So at that point, you may be dealing, maybe you and your partner are exploring travel matters, maybe you're writing together, maybe you are studying together, maybe you're meeting people through education, travel, your sights and your kind of romantic goals are aligned with expansion, you're growing somehow, right? Maybe it's also your personal goals, but partner is more likely during this, January until May and then September until February 13th, 2026 months is more likely to coming from the sector of education, travel, be a teacher, mentor, someone from far away, well-traveled, foreign. And then between May 24th and September 1st, Saturn, the ruler of the house of marriage, is entering Aries for the first kind of preview. And Aries is your 10th house. And at this time, your flavor, your attraction might shift. You may notice that you're getting more interested in people who are masculine, direct, sort of aggressive, almost youthful, right? As the Cancer rising, your 7th house is ruled by Saturn, and so you appreciate stability and maturity. But since Saturn is going to start shifting into Aries, there's almost a transformation going on, right? Where you're starting to go for these like youthful, athletic, masculine people, and you're more likely to meet them at work as well. So in the beginning of the year, we have Mars retrograde and we have Venus retrograde. Mars is retrograde until February 23rd. It's moving from your 2nd house into the 1st house. And you're maybe asking questions about money. You're maybe feeling burdened. There may be a lot of things, a lot of health concerns that you're dealing with. Just, things may feel a little bit more stagnant. And then Venus begins its retrograde on March 1st and moves from your 10th into the 9th houses, which also suggests a little bit of like confusion involving work, involving legal matters, involving travel. So in the beginning of the year, if you're single, it's not the best time to start new relationships. And if you are in a relationship, you may notice that your energy is up and down, that sexually you're feeling less excited and less inspired. Things do start to look better. In May, we get the full moon in Scorpio on May 12th, and that is your 5th house. And that could bring a turning point in a romantic relationship. If you are dating someone casually, full moon in the 5th might suggest commitment, making things more serious, more official. There could be developments around children. Maybe you are, maybe you're moving because your child is going to school, or you're giving birth, or you're getting pregnant. If you're single, maybe it can also be an exciting romantic opportunity coming around this time. You may notice that you're starting to feel a lot more optimistic, a lot more joyful come June 9th. And when Jupiter enters Cancer for a full year, this is a very big boost for you, where you are more jubilant, more excited, and that could start attracting more big and full of life people your way too. There's a full moon on July 10th in Capricorn, your 7th house, which continues the theme of relationship changes, commitment, transformations, maybe a move, maybe a marriage, an engagement, pregnancy, some kind of big development. Between November 6th and November 30th, Venus is in Scorpio, your 5th house, which is a more playful time. You're dating more, you're having more sex, you're having more fun, you're attracting partners if you're single, partners who are magnetic, mysterious, intense, passionate, all Scorpio keywords. Around that same time, however, we also have Mercury retrograde, and the retrograde takes time between November 9th and November 29th, and it goes from Sagittarius, your 6th house, into Scorpio, your 5th house. And so it's interesting because I just got this thought to myself that if you're busy dating and you're not being careful, the retrograde from the 6th into the 5th might have you dealing with some kind of health matters that were sprung on you from an unprotected sexual encounter. So be careful, right? But maybe it's also the time when you're realizing that your habits are not conducive to your romantic life, or they're not, your like eating, exercise habits are not letting you, like maybe you need to change some habits in order to be a better partner, a better parent, in order to prepare your body to have a child, if that's what you're working on. There is a new moon that coincides with Mercury retrograde in your house of romance, pleasure, and children. And so this could suggest, you know, a new beginning in a relationship that comes out of crisis, or that comes out of this realization that you need to take better care of yourself. I can also see for some of you dealing with people from your past, maybe an ex coming into your life, and then the new moon in the 5th house on November 20th is a chance to reignite things with this ex, a chance to start a new relationship out of the old spark. Be careful, as always, you know, it might seem beautiful and glittery, but then as you dive into it, you realize that things haven't changed and the person is still the same. But sometimes we just need to, you know, we need to step into the same old shoes to get some closure. And then between December 24th and January 17th, 2026, Venus will be in Capricorn, your 7th house, and this is great for attracting new relationships, dating, connecting with people, making, you know, it could be the time when you're more creative with your partner. It could be the time when you're getting along more, when you're making plans for the future, and just overall enjoying harmony in all relationships. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadasastrology.com. Get a relationship reading to talk about compatibility, or a predictive reading. Those are currently discounted. You can find out what 2025 has in store for you personally. All of that at anastasiadasastrology.com. If you are the lovely Leo rising, in the beginning of the year, we have a bit of a confusing energy, right? Mars is retrograding from your 1st into your 12th houses, and you may feel like things feel sort of stagnant, your energy is inconsistent, you're maybe questioning certain things. If you are an early Leo rising between 0 and 6 degrees, Mars retrograde is also opposing your descendant, so your house of relationships. So this personal confusion might also spill into a relationship sector, whether you're single and you're questioning who's the right partner for you, or if you are in a relationship and you're wondering whether your goals align with your partner's goals. That would depend on your personal situation, right? Mars traveling back into Cancer in your 12th house might also be the time when you're realizing, becoming more clear of your self-defeating tendencies, patterns that do not serve you, and perhaps releasing some of those. We also have Venus retrograde early in the year between March 1st and April 12th. Yeah, March 1st and April 12th. So the first 4 months are, you know, they're full of some kind of confusion, uncertainty, because both of those are romantic planets. You're more likely to be dealing with those questions, right? Even though Venus or Mars do not really rule your romantic houses, they're still connected to love. Of course, Pluto is in Aquarius the entire year. It just went in to stay until 2043 on November 19th, 2024. And in 2025, it gets up to 3 degrees 49 minutes of Aquarius. So take a look at your chart. If you have planets between 0 and 4 degrees, Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio, this is really important for you. And if your ascendant is in 0 to 4 degrees Leo, for sure, really important. But Pluto in Aquarius is slowly encouraging more truth in your relationships. It might be, for those single, it might be bringing you partners that are Plutonian, that are very deep and passionate. Maybe you're dating a therapist. Maybe you're dating a mafia boss. That's like a shadow Pluto, right? But you're craving intensity, you're craving vulnerability, you're craving passion and exploration, right? Like maybe you're opening yourself up to some kind of sexual practices that you haven't explored before, right? You're just feeling like something is, like you want more. And if you are in a relationship, you're maybe exploring these things with your partner, or maybe sometimes if Pluto is not conscious in our life, we may sort of provoke people, we may create drama, stir drama without realizing it. Pluto might also affect your partner. If you're in a relationship, and Pluto in Aquarius might be symbolic of a partner going through some kind of difficult time, them facing shadows, them dealing with uncertainty. And so a strong relationship will grow through it, right? And work through it and come out of it with so much more vulnerability and intimacy and connection. But then if the relationship is weaker, then it is more likely to fall apart. And I think that to me is also supported by the fact that there's a lot of Pisces activations. We have the nodes entering Pisces and Virgo. And so the North Node will be in Pisces. There's going to be a lunar eclipse in Pisces in September, similar to an eclipse we've had in September 2024. And there will be a couple of eclipses in Virgo in March and September 2025. And so this is activating your houses of money and your houses of values and sharing and give and take dynamics. So for some, this would be about healing, and this would be once again about like letting go of the need to control things, letting go of maybe the need to project some kind of perfect image, and welcoming vulnerability, North Node in Pisces in the 8th house, sharing, almost like being okay with the fact that it's fine to let a partner take care of you for whatever reason, right? Maybe you decide to start a business and you're making less money, or you decide to get pregnant and you're making less money. And so with North Node being in your 8th house, starting in January 2025, and that lasts until July 2026, it is an opportunity to be more open and more vulnerable and kind of be okay with not knowing things, and be okay with letting someone else take care of you and trusting and working through like more difficult topics. North Node in the 8th might also encourage you to heal and address some childhood wounds or some important questions that require your attention. Saturn, the ruler of your 7th house, is gonna experience a shift and dip into Aries from May 24th until September 1st. So between, from March 2023 and until May 24th, 2025, Saturn has been in Pisces. And that means the ruler of your house of marriage is in the 8th house. And so if you're single, this is the time when you're maybe meeting people through financial dealings. Maybe you're meeting people through like emergencies, or you're meeting them at an emergency room. Maybe they're doctors, maybe they're working with some kind of, they have unique hours, or they have some kind of unique job. Maybe their job requires them to deal with emergencies. It might also be a sign that your partner is involved in some kind of like heavy balancing act right now. Maybe they're, dealing with family tension, or they're dealing with work things, or they're like paying off debts. Like there's some kind of, like they're sort of doing a lot of research, or they're working with something more heavy maybe right now. And Saturn returns into Pisces and will spend another 5 months there from September 1st until February 13th, right? September, October, November, December, January, five and a half. And so that's where your partner is more likely to be. And then between May 24th and September 1st, Saturn does dip into Aries. And it will get up to 2 degrees Aries. But this might suggest that during this period of time, you're more likely, if you're single, you're more likely to get involved with someone in education. You're more likely to date someone foreign. You're more likely to date someone who is a journalist or a writer. You may also notice that you're starting to get attracted to very like masculine, youthful, aggressive partners, if that's not something you normally go for. So that would be an interesting preview of what's coming up. And if you are in a relationship, Saturn entering Aries between May 24th and September 1st can also be a sign that your partner maybe is studying, or, you know, they are dealing with some kind of legal situation. They're getting involved in like a lengthy legal battle for, I don't know, their child from the previous marriage or something. Or the partner is traveling or growing somehow, like potentially through education or writing or things like that. Some other important dates to mention: we have a new moon in Aquarius, your 7th house, so new opportunities in love, new beginnings, commitment, marriage, moving in together, getting a loan together. We have a full moon in Sagittarius, your 5th house, between June 11th. On June 11th, 2025. And so that is also an opportunity to clear something in your romantic life. Maybe talk about children, think about matters involving children, maybe figure out, you know, let go of some kind of problem, get closer. And similar energy with the full moon in Aquarius in August 9th. It feels like, you know, with Mars being retrograde early in the year, Venus being retrograde early in the year, that by the middle of the year, things start to feel a little bit more clear and you're experiencing more forward momentum in your relationships. Mercury goes retrograde in your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, children between November 9th and November 29th, and it moves backwards into the house of home, family, and living situation. And it might be the time when you're realizing that it's, you know, that you're not quite happy with your place of living, that maybe you need to expand because you have a child on the way. There might also be a sense that you're thinking of moving to a different town because your partner lives in a different town. And so developments around love and home, family, living situation are all possible here. What's interesting is right around that time, right after Mercury finishes its retrograde, we have Venus in Sagittarius from November 30th until December 24th. And then a new moon in Sagittarius on December 19th, 2025. So after you have asked those questions, there are likely to be more opportunities to date, to connect, to think about, you know, becoming pregnant and having a child. If you're single and let's say you made some kind of choices that involves your living situation, maybe you've addressed some childhood wounds at this time, there might also be an opportunity to start dating someone new. Please share how this resonates, and if you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted, so you can pick that one up or get a relationship consultation or a natal chart reading. Check it out, anastasiadoesastrology.com. If you are a Virgo rising, this is likely to be a really important year for you. I can see marriage, engagement, pregnancy, because the main development that is happening, one of the main developments that is happening this year is the nodes shifting signs, with North Node entering Pisces and South Node entering Virgo. So this starts on January 12th, 2025 and lasts all the way until July 2026. And so this suggests that there is a lot of attention going into your house of marriage. And Saturn has been in your 7th house already for a while, since March 7th, 2023. And this year it dips into Aries between May 24th and September 1st, but mostly stays in Pisces, which means that for the last couple of years you've been, you know, perhaps asking yourself important questions. Maybe you've been clearing space for a new relationship. So if you're single right now, right, like if you've gone through a divorce, a separation, a breakup in the last 2 years, the North Node entering Pisces and the eclipses we're going to start having in Pisces, new moon in Virgo throughout 2025 represent new people entering your life. And so if you have been heeding the lessons of Saturn over the course of the last 2 years, you're more likely to welcome new beginnings. And if you're already in a relationship, this might mean moving the relationship further, committing, getting married, right? Getting pregnant, moving in together, a lot of important developments. So in the beginning of the year, we have Mars retrograde and Venus retrograde, right? Kind of off the bat, Mars is retrograde until February 23rd, which might generally represent ups and downs. Maybe sexually you're feeling a little less excited, or you're trying to figure out what gets you excited. Just maybe a little bit less of clarity, I'd say. However, between January 2nd and February 4th, Venus is in Pisces in your 7th house. And so even though there might be a little bit of uncertainty, you may notice that it's affecting more your partner's finances potentially, because Aries rules Mars rules Aries, and that is your 8th house, and it rules Scorpio, which is your house of communication. So there might be maybe some miscommunication, some financial dealings that are a little bit confusing, but early in the year with Venus in Pisces, and even the new moon on February 27th in your 7th house, and Venus, the first month of the year being in Pisces, is quite lovely still. I think it's supportive of dating, it's supportive of harmony and getting along. Things do get a little tricky as Venus goes retrograde and travels from Aries, your 8th house, into Pisces between March 1st and April 12th. And so you may deal with some type of difficult conversations. You may deal with financial disagreements, perhaps. Let's say if it is the year when you're getting married. I know one Virgo rising who just got engaged, right? So I might base my example on her life. But if it is the year that you're getting married, Venus retrograding from the 8th into the 7th might be the time when you're realizing that you and your partner to be, your spouse to be, are not seeing things eye to eye. So you need to discuss it, you need to maybe clear some disagreements, you need to set a budget, you need to talk about things that are uncomfortable, which could involve money, could involve some past debts, right? It might literally be like you tell your partner that you have $100,000 in student loans, and that maybe affects things a little bit, at least in terms of planning the wedding. If you're single, Venus moving from your 8th house into the 7th house might be suggestive of you kind of continuing or finishing to disengage from relationships that are toxic, that are unhealthy, that are dragging you down, or maybe considering examining those relationships and giving them another try, right? Venus will be retrograde in Pisces between March 27th and April 12th, and then she will be in Pisces direct all the way until April 30th. So it could be the time when an ex is coming into your life, especially if it's a healthy relationship that things maybe just didn't work out because of timing. Venus being in Pisces retrograde and then direct might be the time when you are maybe giving things another chance. And it's interesting too, because at the same time Mercury is also retrograde, and it's also moving from your 8th house into the 7th. So either important conversations in an existing relationship, questions around money, values, agreements, views on parenthood, right? Like some of these important questions, or people from your past healing old wounds, continuing to sort of clear space for new beginnings. And there is a new moon solar eclipse, in the final solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th in your 8th house, which does suggest to me a new agreement, a new dynamic, maybe a new investment in a relationship. In July, we have a full moon in Capricorn, your 5th house of romance, pleasure, parenthood, children. If you've been trying to get pregnant, this might be the time when you get pregnant. If you've been actively dating and you're single, this might be the time when you commit to a relationship, make things official. There's also a new moon in Virgo, followed by the solar eclipse in Virgo in August and September, which is important for your personal development. And simultaneously in September, there's a lunar eclipse in Pisces. What was happening in your romantic life in mid-September? Maybe also October 2024, because we've already had one lunar eclipse in Pisces, and this is a second one, and there's going to be more eclipses in Pisces, but it could be that turning point, that really important development. Or if you've already experienced an important romantic development in September 2024, perhaps you're continuing to build the momentum and continuing to grow the relationship at this time. I like that Venus is entering Capricorn between December 24th and January 17th, 2026. She will be in your 5th house of romance, pleasure, fun, parenthood, children. For singles, it's a great time to go out, have fun. You're more likely to attract someone, to manifest love. If you're in a relationship, this could also just be a time of more joy. A couple of more important things to mention is Saturn. Like I said, it's been in Pisces for a while. This year, it will start to transition into Aries. We're going to get the first introduction between May 24th and September 1st. Neptune will also go into Aries between March 30th and October 22nd. And this is your 8th house. And 8th house deals with partners' money. So all of this might reflect some type of change in the partner's resources. There might be a sense of their resources getting limited, restricted. Maybe it's connected, if you are engaged and you're getting married, maybe it's just a sign of spending more and not having as much money available. It might also be, for some of you, it might be, especially with Neptune being here for quite some time after 2026, I would maybe recommend, if you're getting married, to sign a prenup, because Neptune can blur the lines and make it harder to see how much money you have, how much money the partner has, and if you stand to lose a lot, maybe it's good to sort of protect yourself, right? But it would be interesting, because on one hand, it maybe is a sign that you and your partner are like working in tandem and working on paying off some debts and getting your dreams come true, but Neptune just always has a bit of a foggy energy. And then it's also interesting that Jupiter, the ruler of your 7th house, is going to shift signs. So until June 9th, Jupiter is in Gemini, in the 10th house of career. Your partner might be busy building their career, or if you're single, they might be coming from work. They might be very ambitious, but there might be also a bit of a sense that they're feeling less optimistic right now, because Jupiter is in the sign of its detriment. And then when Jupiter enters Cancer on June 9th for a whole year, it will place the ruler of your house of relationships in the 11th house, which may continue that theme, that trajectory of the partner following their dreams, building the following, building a network, becoming more visible, more social. Or it can also suggest that you're more likely to date friends right now, or meet people through networking events, even meet someone through your family. So new partner might be coming your way through those kind of events. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently offering a special on my year ahead readings. You can also pick up a relationship consultation, ask me questions about compatibility, and get my Venus in Libra 2 or 3 candle, which is a perfect remedy for Venus retrograde and a great manifestation tool that can help you find more joy and ease in your relationships. For the lovely Libra risings, let's talk about you beautiful people. So let's talk about Pluto. Pluto has entered Aquarius on November 19th, 2024 to stay all the way until 2043. In 2025, it will get up to 3 degrees 49 minutes. So it's more important if you have any, let's say if your ascendant is in the early first 4 degrees of Libra, or if you have planets in the first 4 degrees of Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. But in general, Pluto being in Aquarius is a sign of a new period in your life. On one hand, you're facing fears, you're dealing with obsessions. I'm just going to take a sip of water. so I don't need to scare you guys by coughing in the middle of a sentence. But you may be dealing with some jealousy, some obsession, some fears around parenthood, around childbirth. You're maybe asking deep questions whether you want to be a parent or not. You're maybe healing wounds around sexuality and opening yourself up to new possibilities. For some of you, it might be about dating people that you wouldn't allow yourself to date and experimenting in the bedroom. So Pluto being in Aquarius and the fact that we're sort of in the beginning stages of this might be offering you a chance to be more authentic and more truthful and more honest about who you are, what you like, and how you want to be loved on many levels. Early in the year, there's a lot of confusion, right? Mars, the ruler of your house of relationships, is retrograde until February 23rd, moving from the 11th into the 10th house. And because it rules the house of partner, it might suggest that the partner is currently somehow, their life is somewhat complicated. Maybe their work life is busy. Maybe their relationships with colleagues or friends are a little bit complicated. Maybe they're just going through a bit of a slump or like a difficult period in their life. What's interesting is your planet, Venus, also goes retrograde between March 1st and April 12th. So not only your partner is, or rather, let's say this, I think if your partner is going through a difficult time and their life feels somewhat complicated, it might affect your relationship. And it's quite likely going to affect your relationship and encourage you to maybe figure out what makes you happy when they're busy with their own things. It might encourage you to find more independence. Venus will be retrograding from Aries into Pisces, so she'll be moving from your house of romance into your house of problem-solving everyday life. Diet, exercise. It might also be, if you're single, it might be a great opportunity to ask yourself, what do you need to change about yourself? What can you improve about your schedule? How can you build more confidence in yourself so that you can attract a better partner? There is a lot of adjustment going on in the beginning of the year because as Venus is retrograde between March 1st and April 12th, Mercury is also retrograde between March 15th and April 7th, and it's moving backwards from both of them are moving back from Aries into Pisces. And so a lot of sort of negotiating is going on, a lot of confusion maybe is going on. And it's interesting because in 2024, and please share what was it like for you, we've had a lot of eclipses in Libra and Aries. And for you guys, it was activating a house of identity, maybe death and rebirth, changes in the sense of self, shedding a lot, clearing a lot, kind of becoming more clear on who you are and what you want, and becoming more clear about relationships, right? It maybe wasn't always easy. You may have dealt with some type of shadows and, gotten close to a breakup, or you may be separated from a toxic relationship. It could have been a year of like a lot of like tension and friction in relationships. It's funny because like I used to, when I was doing a 2024 forecast, I thought for like Libra risings, it will be so much more about like, and it was for some, for sure, but like I thought it would be Libra risings more like everybody gets engaged and enters a new relationship, and for Aries risings, the sign opposite, I was like, it maybe you guys will go through like more personal focus. And I think it was like flipped because for Aries risings, their 7th house is Libra, which is a natural sort of balance, harmony, like partnership house. And for Libra risings, our 7th house is Aries. And so a lot of times we need to fight for our independence. We need to maybe learn to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. And sometimes it can also, spark some friction. So I think for a lot of Libra risings this year maybe brought up everything that didn't quite work and like encouraged you to battle it out on some level with yourself, with your significant other, but like get closer to who you were. So this continues, and we get, like I said, there is that retrograde. So if you're single, maybe you're also considering dating someone from the past, or you're working on healing, you're asking those questions like, what have I learned from my past relationships? What have I learned from my failed relationships? And then we get the final eclipse in Aries on March 29th. And this is a new beginning in your house of relationships. But I think because Mercury is retrograde and Venus is retrograde at the time of this eclipse, it just tells you that you need to adjust, you need to change, you need to learn to be more clear. Maybe you need to learn to speak up and kind of releasing things that are outdated, releasing maybe for some of you it's an invitation to release some kind of competitiveness or release self-doubt. And what's interesting is there is an eclipse, right? There is a solar eclipse in Aries on March 29th, and what happens the day after is Neptune enters Aries. On March 30th until October 22nd, we get the introduction of Neptune in Aries. And then in late May, on May 24th until September 1st, Saturn is also entering Aries. And both of them will get as far as about 2 degrees. So it's especially important if your ascendant is between 0 and 2 degrees. You're going to feel this shift very strongly. But this will be very kind of clarifying, I think. Well, let me. So it could be the time when Saturn and Neptune come in, and, Saturn and Neptune together is like, it's very contradictory energy. So on one hand, the two can work together to create maybe like the most magical partnership. Maybe you're committing to something and you're feeling this like Saturn, yes, we're gonna get it done, and Neptune, and it's gonna be awesome and dreamy, and you're like excited. But then on the other hand, it can also be the time when you're dealing with some kind of limitations, restrictions, disillusionment. You're maybe realizing Saturn will be in your 7th house for a while, all the way until 2028. Yeah, so this is a taste test, but then it's going to enter and stay for a while. So it's fascinating because there are going to be a lot of developments romantically. For some, commitment. Saturn always makes you say no. And so it might be saying no to being single. It might be saying no to a relationship that feels unhealthy and feels like it's dragging you down. All that being said, we have some positive energy, right? There's a new moon in Aquarius in the beginning of the year. For some, might indicate pregnancy, and so this is the heaviness of Saturn. Maybe you're getting married, maybe you're becoming a parent, and all of that feels like, let's go. Maybe you're starting a new relationship, and also as rosy, as glamorous as it felt, maybe there's also an element of having to manage expectations, adjust your life to welcome a new person. Venus is finally direct in Aries between April 30th and June 6th. She is in Aries. She likes conquest. She likes competition. She might like a little bit of friction, but she should help you either attract a new partner or have sort of a happier relationship. And then there is, at the end of the year, we also have the full moon in Aquarius on August 9th, which could bring a birth of a child, change in a relationship, a change around sex and sexuality, maybe even a change in the child's life. And then in October, there is a full moon in Aries, your 7th house, which I think is a sign that after being confused in the beginning of the year, by October, you have a lot more clarity and you may experience important developments in a relationship, like commitment, marriage, a move, pregnancy. I keep saying pregnancy, but it is a possibility. Please share how this resonates. What was your 2024 like? What's happening in your love life? Do you feel ready for a change that 2025 might bring? And if you're looking for more, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently running a year ahead special, or you can get a romantic reading and find out how compatible you are with your partner, how to make your relationship better. Pick up my Venus in Libra candle. It's perfect for you guys as Libra risings. It was created with Libra, Venus prominent, highlighted, and empowered. So can improve relationships and bring more creative inspiration. If you are a Scorpio rising, so in 2024, there were a couple of things introduced already into your life that will continue building and exploring. We will continue exploring in 2025. So Pluto has entered Aquarius on November 19th to stay all the way until 2043. And that is symbolic of major transformations in your house of home, family, and living situation. So you may already be feeling it, and please share down below if you are. But it's like a slow burn, right? Usually it's a very slow burn. So it might represent healing childhood wounds. It might represent moving. Maybe you're moving for love. Maybe you're moving with your partner. It might also bring these kind of like major tectonic shifts in terms of becoming the patriarch of the family, becoming a parent, right? Shifting sort of situations in the family. And then another indicator, I think, of big developments when it comes to pregnancy, when it comes to love and relationships, is the fact that North Node is entering Pisces in January 2025, and it will stay until July 2026. And then South Node is entering Virgo, your 11th house. And so North Node being in Pisces brings big transformations and gains, and it draws a lot of attention to the sector of pleasure, to the sector of love, and to the sector of parenthood. So once again, becoming a parent is very likely, especially in this period between January 2025 and July 2026, and even possibly, after that. But it is a possibility. We're going to have new moon in Pisces in February, which is a sign that maybe there are new beginnings involving those matters. And then there's a full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces in September. And it has similar energy to September eclipse from 2024. So if you've already experienced maybe pregnancy or you've experienced changes in relationships, those storylines are going to continue. And what's interesting too is we've had Saturn in Pisces since March 2023, and so you may have been working on the questions of relationships. You may have been, like Saturn creates a little bit of heaviness, and so Saturn may have suggested that you could have run into a bit of a dry period, right? Sexually, maybe you dealt with some kind of restrictions, difficulty. Maybe a partner has been going through a bit of a difficult time, but Saturn in Pisces would have tested your resolve to be in a committed relationship or to work through issues. And this year, the energy of Saturn in Pisces will start to lighten up, because between May 24th and September 1st, it's going to dip into Aries. Not that, Saturnian energy ever completely dissolves, because this suggests that there's going to be a lot of focus on your health, your work, busy life, but it will, I think, mean that your relationship sector and you might feel like it's easier to get pleasure in life, right? Like it's sort of life feels a little bit more fun when Saturn disappears for a little bit. But then it comes back on September 1st and fully leaves Pisces in February 2026. So North Node in Pisces, also what's interesting is it will encourage you to work on trusting in relationships, right? You are a Scorpio rising, and trust maybe needs to be earned with you, and that's completely fair. But North Node in Pisces might say that sometimes in order to have pleasure, you need to let go, right? You need to open yourself up. And so letting go of the Virgo topics of control with South Node in Virgo, and with North Node in Pisces being more open, more playful is quite likely. A couple of other things that are worth mentioning. In the beginning of the year, we have back-to-back 2 retrogrades. We have Mars retrograde it started on December 6th, and it lasts until February 23rd. And you are Mars, because you're a Scorpio, so traditional ruler of Scorpio is Mars. And when Mars is retrograding from 10th into the 9th, you may be questioning professional matters. You may be feeling a little bit uncertain about your direction. You may be feeling uncertain about even what you believe or what you feel. And it's okay. It's just a sign of I think as these big shifts are happening in your life, changes in your home, in your family, in your relationships, it's normal to experience periods of uncertainty. And then Venus also goes retrograde, and Venus rules your 7th house of relationships between March 1st and April 12th. And she will be retrograde from your 6th into the 5th houses. And this is interesting because it might show up as your partner maybe feeling like, you know, they need to address some health matters, like their work is maybe a little bit heavy. There might be a sense that you need to consciously work on reigniting the spark in a relationship because, once again, let's say you just recently had a kid and it takes some time, right, to figure out how to be parents and how to be in a relationship. If you're single, I wouldn't recommend making a relationship official during Venus retrograde, so between March 1st and April 12th. But you might notice that there's more people from your past knocking on your door. Maybe a colleague is asking you out. Maybe you're also questioning what you want, what you like, what you desire. The energy does start to feel a little bit better once Venus goes direct. So Venus is in your 5th house of pleasure and play, and she's exalted, and she's in her favorite house. She really likes being in the 5th house between March 27th and April 30th. So that is likely when the confusion will lift because both Mercury and Venus will be direct. You may experience more fun, more pleasure in a relationship. You're more likely to attract someone if you're single. In April 27th, we have a new moon in Taurus, your 7th house, very stability oriented. And what's exciting too is actually Uranus is going to start leaving your 7th house. So between July 7th and November 7th, Uranus will shift into Gemini, which may create some kind of surprises in your partner's finances, or maybe shakeups in terms of shared finances, maybe encourage different give and take dynamics in a relationship, but it also means that it's going to get out of your 7th house. And if you've experienced a lot of destabilizing Uranian energy in the last 6-7 years, you may finally breathe a sigh of relief. So I think the new moon in Taurus on April 27th and Venus in Taurus between June 6th and July 4th are quite positive in terms of building stability in relationships. Maybe, you know, Taurus, I always think of Taurus as like money, job, security, love, family. So it could be about starting a family. It could be about moving homes, finding some kind of comfortable home for yourself, starting a relationship that feels secure and warm and loving. And so developments like that are possible. And then in November 5th, we have the full moon in Taurus, your 7th house. So the things you may have started in late April come full circle by November. And, you know, in September, there's also a lunar eclipse in Pisces, which brings attention to your house of romance, pleasure, and parenthood. And the full moon on November 5th definitely suggests that you've planted seeds and now you see those seeds bloom. And similar topics again, right? Having more financial security, if that's what you've been working for with your partner. Getting pregnant, if that's what you've been working for. Feeling more at ease with being, like, let's say you moved away and you live in a new town. Just kind of welcoming more contentment and stability in relationships. So please share how this resonates. How has 2024 been for your relationships? Are you excited for Uranus to leave your 7th house? And as always, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com if you want me to talk about your relationship, your natal chart, or your year coming up. I also highly recommend my Venus in Libra candle, my 2025 planner, and any other creation that catches your eye. If you are a Sagittarius rising, Jupiter, the ruler of your chart, has been in Gemini, the house of relationships, since late May 2024, and it's going to stay here until June 9th, 2025, which tends to be a very beneficial time for relationships. It brings major developments, growth, opportunities to move in together, maybe your partner growing, right? Sometimes Jupiter, being the planet of good luck in the house of relationships, might suggest that a partner gets an opportunity to relocate and you're traveling with them. They get a new job, right, in a fun tropical location, so you go with them. There has been complications coming from Saturn in the 4th house and maybe some, tensions involving family duties, responsibilities, like maybe a bit of a difficulty when it comes to moving and when it comes to changing where you are. If you're single, Jupiter being in your 7th house for a year is also quite an opportune time to meet someone new, and most likely this person will be jubilant, optimistic, well-educated, well-traveled, maybe foreign. Maybe they will bring something to the table that is unique, right? Jupiter will move into Cancer in June 2025 and will stay in Cancer until June 30th, 2026. So that means your ruler is moving into the 8th house. And that can actually continue the topics of growth when it comes to the partner, because 8th house is their resources and money opportunities that come to you through other people. So for those in a relationship, this could be the time when the partner gets a raise. They start to make more money. Maybe they are experiencing a professional change, right? Or they're receiving an inheritance. Sometimes Jupiter in the 8th brings money to the partner that you are benefiting through. And if you're single, Jupiter going in the 8th might also suggest that maybe you're more interested in people that are mysterious, kind of like 8th house type people, interested in astrology, spirituality, tarot, healing type of work. A very major development happens with Uranus entering Gemini, your 7th house. So in 2025, we get a preview of Uranus in Gemini. The first transit happens between July 7th and November 7th. And then Uranus returns to Taurus and then comes back kind of more permanently in April 2026 to stay for the next 6 years. But this is a really significant long-term development, right? And you will feel it the most if your ascendant is like really early in Sagittarius. I would say around 0, 1, or 2 degrees, because Uranus will only make it up to about 1 degree, 27 minutes. And so this is a sign that you're entering a very interesting period romantically. Uranus might, for those in relationships, might signal that your partner's life continues to transform, right? Something is happening there. They're going through a big change. They're maybe ruffling they're maybe shaking things up, right? Like they decide to open up a relationship, or they get a job that means they will travel a lot and you will travel with them. It can also be a sign that if you are in a relationship that feels a little bit stagnant, Uranus entering your 7th house will offer you a chance to innovate and maybe have some fun and do things differently. Or it may be the time when you're letting go of a relationship that you've outgrown, and maybe you feel like there is, it's better to go out there and explore something new. You may be starting to look at relationships differently. You may be opening yourself up to, like I said, being in an open relationship. Having the goal, I think, is like that will come from you or from partner, but like the ultimate goal of this transit is to have more freedom in a relationship and to maybe allow yourself to explore the quirky, the unconventional sides of yourself through the people you're dating or through the relationship you're in. We also have a lot of focus on your house of home, family, and living situation. So this might mean maybe moving in with a partner. Maybe once again, if the partner gets a job that requires them to travel, you're traveling with them. as North Node enters Pisces, your 4th house, and South Node enters Virgo. This will last from January 12th, 2025 until late July 2026, and suggests changes in terms of your career and your public life, and gains in the sector of home, family, and living situation. So once again, maybe you're becoming a travel wife, a travel partner. You're going on a trip with your partner. And if you're single, the eclipses in the house of home and family might also represent a move, a change in the family. And perhaps as you move, you also open yourself up to new dating possibilities. I can also see you dating people that maybe come from family connections. So we have early in the year, we have Mars retrograde and we have Venus retrograde. So Mars is retrograde until February 23rd. And that might represent that your energy is a bit inconsistent, or you're feeling you're like having to deal with some education matters. You're maybe reviewing some of your sharing dynamics. You and your partner might be talking about investments and paying mortgage and figuring out a better strategy, maybe figuring out how to make a relationship more fair. And then Venus goes retrograde from March 1st until April 12th, and she will move from your 5th into your 4th houses. And once again, we are moving from the 5th into the 4th. Mercury is also retrograding at the same time, also from your 5th into the 4th. And so this feels like something needs to change in your living situation. Maybe you need to address something in your relationships with family so that you can have more romantic freedom. This could mean moving out of your parents' house, moving in with your partner. This could mean finding caretakers for your family members that require care so that you have, once again, more freedom to live your life on some level. Maybe some type of, like even Venus moving from the 5th into the 4th could bring up questions around children and parenthood, whether maybe you're asking yourself whether you want kids, or you're realizing that in order to have a child, you need to expand your home, add more space. We also have the final eclipse in Aries, which highlights your 5th house. I really wonder if, it just feels like parenthood is on the agenda for so many of you guys in 2025. And you might not be interested in parenthood at all, and maybe it's about more like birthing a creative project or finding a relationship that feels like an exciting new energy. But it could be, especially with this, with this focus on home and family and relationships and the eclipse in the house of children. Maybe you get a dog. Maybe that's your child. Who knows? So Venus goes direct, and between April 30th and June 6th, she's in your 5th house. If you're single, this is a great time to go out there, dance, get your friends together. You're more likely to meet someone while having fun. If you're in a relationship, this might be the time when you're more playful, more, you're exploring fun dating activities. There is a new moon in the 7th house of relationships on May 26th, heralding new commitments and new opportunities to expand your relationship dynamic. Jupiter at the time is still in Gemini, so it's maybe, the end of the year of Jupiter in Gemini. You've learned a lot, you've grown a lot, and your partner maybe has grown a lot, and so something new happens in your relationship as a result of that knowledge, of that growth. Venus is also in Gemini from July 4th until July 30th. Beautiful time for relationships. And then there are some exciting transits also when we get the full moon in Aries on October 6th and the full moon in Gemini on December 4th. Both of those highlight your relationship houses and can represent either meeting someone new or making a relationship more official, once again, getting pregnant or having a child. And even possibly the October 6th full moon may be connected to your sex life as well, because 5th house represents like sex and pleasure. And so maybe maybe you're trying something fun in the bedroom. Please share how this resonates. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. I am currently running a year ahead special. You can also pick up a relationship consultation. We can discuss your love life or get a natal chart reading. And pick up my Venus in Libra 2 candle. This one was created with Sagittarius on the ascendant, so it's extra special for you guys. If you are a Capricorn rising, in the beginning of the year, you may deal with some kind of relationship uncertainty, but it does improve as we hit the middle of the year mark. So why relationship uncertainty? We have Mars retrograding between December 6th and February 23rd, and it moves from your 8th into your 7th house, and it opposes Pluto. So you may run into a conflict of values where you and your partner don't see eye to eye. It could be connected to spending, to money matters. It could be connected to, how you express frustration in a relationship, especially the second part of this retrograde from January 6th until February 23rd, when Mars is in Cancer. You may notice that there is a sense of brewing tensions, and so you will be forced to address things and hopefully express the frustration and deal with some matters in a grown-up way. If you're single, there might be people from your past coming into your life. There might be opportunities to maybe heal old wounds, right? We're going from the 8th into the 7th. Be more aware of how your behavior affects your relationships. Maybe look at how your parental relationship is present in your personal relationship. So it could be very cathartic on many levels, but definitely rather frustrating. And we also get the full moon in Cancer really early on January 13th. That coincides with Mars being retrograde in Cancer, and so that could feel like either some kind of tension bubble bursting into the open, maybe getting to process some type of old fight and move forward, or it could be for some, if the relationship is unhealthy and it's on its final sort of legs, right? This could also be the sign that the relationship is ending or it's dying as is, right? And the new version of the relationship is born. Venus retrogrades from March 1st until April 12th, simultaneously with Mercury retrograde from March 15th until April 7th. And both are going from your 4th house into your 3rd house, so from Aries into Pisces. And then we also get, around the same time with both of these planets retrograde, we get the last eclipse in Aries on March 29th. And this could be a change in your living situation. If you are, let's say you're married and you have been talking about buying a home, maybe you hear back retrograde, right? You hear back from the house you applied for, or you tried to buy and it didn't work out, and you hear back and you get a chance to move into that house. Maybe you're moving back somewhere. Maybe you're having conversations with family. Maybe you're healing childhood wounds. Maybe you're also, since both of these retrogrades are going from your 4th into the 3rd, you're maybe having to address some communication difficulties, some type of maybe even patterns that come from early childhood that you haven't addressed, and now you're having to be more, you're having to be more conscious about how you're talking, because there's just a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things that are not being said. And so I think these retrogrades will encourage you to speak your mind. And the focus on the home, family, and living situation continues as Neptune and Saturn both dip into Aries next year for a few months. Neptune gives us a preview between March 30th and October 22nd, and Saturn between May 24th and September 1st. And so this might be a sign that your duties to your family increase, that maybe you're working on buying a property or selling a property or renovating a property, and so there's a lot of heaviness there. It might also be a sign that, like, let's say if you recently have become a parent, maybe your duties are increasing because you're focusing on being a parent. There's actually also a new moon in your house of parenthood on April 27th, 2025. So maybe you give birth at that time and become a parent, right? Or maybe you get pregnant. Maybe you start a new relationship if you're single. New moon in Taurus has this very sort of, you're choosing stability, you're choosing security, you're going for relationships and people that can make you feel at ease. So what I love the most is the fact that Jupiter is about to go into your 7th house. So on June 9th, 2025, Jupiter enters the sign of its exaltation and your 7th house of relationships, and it will stay for the full year. And this is beautiful. And then between June 6th and July 4th, we also have Venus in rulership aspecting this Jupiter, right, by sign. So this is growth in relationships. This is opportunities to date, opportunities to grow. For so many of you, this will ignite conversations about babies and moving in together and maybe even making investments together. Like Jupiter in Cancer grows through nurturing relationships and emotional maturity and like family building, right? So Jupiter in the 7th might be, you're talking about having kids, you're meeting your partner's parents. If you're single, you're more likely to meet someone with these like nurturing, protective, motherly, fatherly qualities, right? It can also be a very exciting time for your partner where their life improves. They get a job offer, they get a bonus, something exciting. They're growing and your relationship is growing with them. The new moon on June 25th is extra beautiful because it is happening in Cancer and it is conjunct Jupiter. So it's very fertile, very abundant, very opportune, I'd say, for, and it will be up to you to manifest and decide what it will be about. But Cancer is the sign of parenthood. And so it's for sure potentially about, babies, but it can also be about committing to something, because as much as Cancer is about parenthood, it's even more so about carefully nurturing the things and the people that Cancer loves. So there is maybe a chance to start a new relationship, to, buy a home and start a garden in your house. So whatever you feel emotionally attached to, you're more likely to work with. Venus also comes into Cancer between July 30th and August 25th, which gives you even more opportunities to date, connect, experience harmony in relationships, nurture people you love, nurture yourself. And then we have the full moon on November 5th in Taurus, which completes the chapter that got started with the new moon in Taurus in April, and brings a change in a relationship, a birthing of that child that maybe you've been pregnant with all year, or some kind of, expansion and growth in your child's life maybe, or in your romantic life. So lots of things to be excited about, right? I think it's like a slower start to the year, but things definitely get more beautiful as the year progresses. So don't be discouraged by the early setbacks with triple retrograde back-to-back. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted. You can also get a relationship consultation or a natal chart reading for general guidance to help you understand yourself and understand your karmic purpose or anything else. I'd also highly recommend my Venus in Libra candle for relationship balance and harmony. And you can get my 2025 planner to help you prepare for the year to come. If you are the beautiful Aquarius rising, this feels like a year of major personal shifts. And in response to the personal shifts, your relationships change. Of course, the biggest transit that is worth talking about is Pluto's entrance into Aquarius. And Pluto went into Aquarius for good on November 19th. It's going to stay until 2043. And this year it gets till about 3 degrees 49 minutes. So it will be especially strongly felt by you if you have planets, if your ascendant is between 0 and 4 degrees Aquarius. But it does suggest that you're maybe dealing with some shadows. You're maybe dealing with some kind of adversity. You're maybe facing major feelings of fear, of obsession, compulsion. You may be realizing how your past is affecting you and trying to overcome the wounds that you have. You're maybe stepping into the role of a revolutionary, right? Like Pluto's in your first house, you become Pluto. You become the person, you become the whistleblower, you become the revolutionary, the fighter, someone who speaks up. And so because Pluto is also looking at your house of relationships, your relationships get affected. And early in the year, we actually have Mars retrograde in your house of relationships and in your sixth house of everyday life. And like right at the top of the year, Mars opposes Pluto. So you may be dealing with some ego battles, some power struggles in your relationship, maybe as you're changing, as you have these passions and you feel motivated to maybe speak up about something and fight with, people who are trying to keep you down. Maybe your partner doesn't quite agree with you, or maybe your partner is not supporting you. So there might be some friction connected to that. And in general, I think like Mars retrograde might bring up some old fights you haven't addressed, some matters that need to be discussed, maybe encourage you to be better at dealing with confrontation. And if you're single, maybe, as always, Mars retrograde in the seventh house can bring someone from the past, but it can also just maybe reveal things that are holding you back or things that affect your relationships that are connected to your personal self. And I think as you become more clear on who you are and what's worth your time and what's worth fighting for, you're also more likely to start attracting people that are more aligned with that version of yourself, right? Mars goes direct on February 23rd and it enters Leo again between April 18th and June 17th. And so if you've addressed some tensions and some frustrations, this could be the time when you're moving forward, right? You're like realizing how to build the relationship and how to get closer with your partner, how to work together instead of work against each other maybe, or compete with each other. Maybe, like kind of finding a common cause. But the energy from early January actually repeats again in mid-April as Mars again opposes Pluto. And that will be the third and final opposition for the time being. So there might be, the themes from early January might definitely come back around. We also have Venus retrograding together with Mercury retrograde in March and April. And the retrograde affects your third house of communication and your second house of money and values. So the adjustments that are happening in relationships, I think, might require you to discuss things honestly and try to get on the same page. And the question of money continues to be important for the next couple of years, in fact, because the North Node shifts into Pisces, your second house, and the South Node goes into Virgo, your eighth house, in January 2025, and this will last until July 26, 2026. So this brings a lot of attention to your personal goals. Once again, right? As you change, relationships change. So North Node in the second, finding stability, building your confidence, building your security in yourself, trusting in yourself on many levels, right? Trusting that you got this, that you will get stronger as you face opposition. And for some people, it can also suggest that there may be financial changes in the relationship too, because there is a sense of a release in the partner's finances and gains in the personal finances. So you may find yourself becoming a sole provider for the family, or you may find yourself making an important investment. You may be making more, and so that affects your dynamic in your relationship as well. We have Jupiter is in Gemini until June 9th, definitely worth mentioning. It's been in your fifth house since May 25th, and Jupiter in the fifth house is very supportive of new relationships. It can almost bring like multiple suitors your way, because Gemini is a sign of duality, but it can bring it can increase fertility, it can bring love, new love, more fun, more pleasure, maybe more like creative type of dates that you go on. So that is lovely, and it lasts all the way until June 9th. So the first 6 months of the year, you have this supportive energy. And we get a new moon in Gemini as well, highlighting your 5th house on May 26th. And Venus comes here between July 4th and July 30th. And so a lot of attention is on your house of romance, pleasure, and even more than that, a big transit that is also happening in Gemini is Uranus entering Gemini for 4 months this year. And then it comes back in April 2026 and stays for 4.5 years. So all of this is your 5th house. So the new moon is here on May 26th. Venus is here in July, which is a short-term transit. And then Uranus is here from July 7th until November 7th. And this is the time when you are just fully owning your quirkiness. You are unconventional, you express yourself, you're more open-minded. If you're single, you're dating unique, eccentric people, you're maybe opening your marriage, you're maybe experimenting. Be safe, make sure you're not like doing crazy things. I do actually quite like that from June 9th, Jupiter will be in your 6th house of health, protecting your health, but still, you don't want to like suddenly get pregnant if you're not ready for it. But it's a really big cycle in which you are getting in touch with your interests, even like in your love life, in your sex life, you're opening yourself up, you want fun, unique, unusual things. And so if you are in a relationship that cannot offer you that, you may find yourself separating from that relationship. Or if a partner is willing to transform with you, this could be a beautiful opportunity to innovate how you do love, how you do parenthood even, right? I can see this as you're exploring like unique ways of raising a child. That could be fun. So we also have Mercury retrograding in Leo in your 7th house between July 18th and August 11th. That may bring an element of confusion, uncertainty, miscommunications with your significant other. There's a new moon here on July 24th, which might offer you a chance to clear the air and figure out new solutions to old problems. The new moon in the 7th might be the time you commit, the time you come closer with a partner, maybe decide to move in together, decide to get married, get engaged. Of course, Mercury being retrograde at the same time makes things a bit more complicated. So this could actually be like a good time to give an old relationship a shot, right? Or like I said, work through an old conflict and come up with new solutions. Venus is also in Leo between August 25th and September 19th. This is lovely. She's in your 7th house of relationships. She's moving direct. She's helping you date, attract people that are matching your energy. She's making it easy to connect and get along. And then on December 4th, we have the full moon in Gemini, your 5th house, which may bring a sense of culmination to a romantic connection, a chance to move a relationship to a different level, a chance to talk about pregnancy, get pregnant, maybe a change in the life of your child, and exciting opportunities around love and pleasure and desire. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. My year ahead readings are currently discounted. You can also pick up a natal chart reading or a relationship reading. And definitely get my Venus in Libra 3 candle or a planner. Now for the lovely Pisces risings. This is a big year. There is so much action in your house of romance, in your house of pleasure, children, in your house of marriage, in your house of identity, in fact. There is like a lot that is going on. The big, of course, like 2 major shifts, and that is North Node entering Pisces and South Node entering Virgo between January 12th, 2025 and July 26th, 2026. So for the next year and a half, even like 2 years, we're going to be having eclipses in your houses of self and in your house of marriage. And so for some, if you are in a relationship that is outdated and you're thinking of getting divorced, then you're ready to spread your wings and fly and maybe start dating again or something, this could be the time when you clear old like connections and open yourself up and go and pursue your dreams, right? Like focus on yourself and maybe just date more casually. If you're single and you want to be in a relationship, we have 2 new moons, and one of them is a solar eclipse in Virgo. One is in August, one is in September, which is very much symbolic of new beginnings in relationships. It is a bit more complicated because South Node is here. It's a South Node eclipse. And South Node has this like spiritual, soulful quality of releasing things. And so it might suggest that there are new beginnings in relationships, but they require you to look at things differently. I think the big change with the South Node, North Node energy is that we are encouraged to let go of control and let go of perfectionism and let go of our like sort of need, as a Pisces rising, you project the energy of like someone who's like really chill. But then your 7th house, your energy in a relationship can actually be quite perfectionist and maybe a little bit controlling, maybe a little bit nitpicky. So you may need to let go of some of that in order to have like a happier relationship, or maybe examine your approach to relationships in general. I think this could also mean that your partner is going through a big change next year, because gains happen in the realm of self and South Node asks you to cleanse the house of relationships. And so sometimes it might mean that maybe your partner changes jobs, or they let go of a job. Like there might be some kind of important development in their life. And it's interesting too. Well, let's go sort of chronologically because I'm kind of, all of this is exciting to me because I think it's going to be a really important year for you guys. And if you remember what was happening in your life in 2006, 2007, look back, because this North Node, South Node energy is from 2006, 2007. If you are old enough to have a frame of reference, definitely take a look back. So early in the year, there's a little bit of adjustments going on, right? Mars is retrograding from your 6th house into the 5th house between December 6th and February 23rd. There might be 2 separate issues you're dealing with that involve work, health, and then something that is connected to romance, sex, pleasure. There may be a bit of a sense that it's not quite as forthcoming as you would like. Maybe your love life needs some fresh energy, maybe with Mars retrograding in Cancer. Like, it's interesting because it goes from your 6th into the 5th, and the very like obvious thinking might be that maybe you need to get in better shape to maybe improve your love life, for example, or you need to focus on eating better so that you can feel better about yourself, so that you're more likely to attract someone. So I think you're becoming more aware of the connection between your well-being and your sex life, your romantic life. Even here, we're looking once again at the house of health and the house of parenthood. And for some of you who have just became parents or thinking of becoming a parent, there is like quite the literal connection, right? Like, take better care of yourself, be better at have more energy to take care of people you love. There's a full moon in Cancer, your 5th house, on January 13th. So maybe some type of transformation when it comes to relationships, a chance to commit to a creative passion or a romance, or a chance to let go of a bad habit for the sake of sort of better overall dynamics. Venus is also retrograding, and so is Mercury from March 1st. Venus from March 1st until April 12th, and Mercury is a little bit less than that. But that is affecting your house of money and your house of identity. So maybe you're also questioning your finances at this time and having to reallocate some resources. This doesn't need to be romantic, but I put it in my list anyways because Venus retrograde always has a bit of a romantic flavor to her. So what I really, really like is Jupiter entering Cancer, and it happens on June 9th, 2025, and it lasts for a year, so until June 30th, 2026. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. It is extra strong. It is uplifted. It is all about growth through emotional maturity, through nurturing relationships, through familial connections. So for many of you, and we also have a very fertile new moon on June 25th in Cancer. So for many of you, this suggests pregnancy. This suggests children. If you're single, this could mean a new relationship. You know, Cancer is a water sign, so it's very moist. So there could be more like sex happening, more fun. Even honestly, like, this is not romantic, but like discovering passions that you enjoy, investing into yourself, investing into like nurturing yourself too. And I like that Venus is in Cancer between July 30th and August 25th too, and Venus likes being in the 5th house. So the summer of love, we can hail it. We can call it like the fun summer, right? So when things get a little bit tricky, because it's not all rosy dozy, lovey-dovey, Saturn is still in your 1st house most of the year. Between May 24th and September 1st, it goes into your 2nd house. And Neptune also dips for a little bit into your 2nd house between March 30th and October 22nd. So this could signal some kind of financial pressures, some type of either, you know, there might be self-imposed. Maybe you're buying a home and you're spending a lot of money. Maybe you're getting married and you're spending a lot of money. Or they could come from like the big guy, Saturn person, someone like older, an authority figure. Maybe you're waiting for some kind of payment, or your salary gets restricted somehow. So you may be also dealing this year with some kind of financial frustrations, and maybe that affects your relationships, or just something to keep an eye on. Don't overspend, because Neptune is here, and Neptune can make you a little bit mellow, and Saturn can create a sense of like pressure and urgency. Both of those are in Aries. They're also, with Uranus is going to dip into Gemini, your 4th house, between July 7th and November 7th. And in April 2026, it will go in for 6 years. But that also brings transformations in the home life. This could mean, you know, a faster turnaround at home. This could mean changes in the home, moving, maybe some kind of disruptions to the domestic routine, like, I don't know, having to call out of work because your child is sick and they need your attention. Maybe, you know, needing to deal with like piping issues or something like that, but also perhaps opportunities to like find more freedom in terms of your home life. Maybe you're making a choice to move somewhere where, like, I don't know, you're moving to one of those 3D homes, right? You're like choosing a very, very Uranian home. And yeah, welcoming, like letting go of like old wounds as well. I think healing childhood wounds, and possibly welcoming a sense of like being more confident in yourself, being more independent and happy as a person. If you're looking for more guidance, book a reading at anastasiadoesastrology.com. Pick up 2025 planner, get a candle. My 2025 year ahead readings are currently discounted, so you can also save on those. And share your thoughts. Let me know if you have any video ideas. I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I think there's lots of things to look forward to and be excited about 2025. And I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.